Hello everyone. I really want to get this December challenge finished up, so that is what I'm going to work on today. It's going to have to dry in between, but I'm going to hopefully get it dry enough. I decided that, okay, I painted some gold around it, and I'm a lot happier with it, but then, I don't know if you can see it. Do you see this little right here? That's beads that's been attached. And I'm not going to put them everywhere, but I decided I wanted to add that little bit of texture. And the first thing that they need is glued down, and then I'm going to go back over them with Mod Podge, which should hold them in place pretty well. So, I have, let me move this so you can kind of see what these are seed beads, and they're just older Czech seed beads, and just in general little, I've already mixed some, little bits that, little odds and ends of bits that I have. And what I'm going to do is make what we call bead soup. I'm going to take all of the little bits out of the containers. I have my bead soup, and now what I'm going to do is put down glue. And I'm going to start over here. Like I said, I'm not going to put it everywhere, and I'm just going to use tacky glue, and I'm going to put it down nice and thick, because if it's not thick, the beads won't go into it. Nice thing about tacky glue is it dries clear. And then what we'll do is we'll put down some and add some beads. And you notice I put a piece of paper underneath everything? That is so when the beads don't stick, they'll have something to fall on that I can put it back in my little bead soup container. And I'm just pushing them down into the glue. And don't hesitate to use a bunch, because like I said, the ones that don't stick, we'll pour them off in just a minute and I'll show you. Now those stuck out there somewhere. Now, frankly, when they dry, there will be some more that fall off, and I'm not worried about that. Okay, but see, now I have these all over here on my paper. And I just dump them back in there. And then I'll go on to the next spot that I want to work on. And like I said, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm going to work on it a little bit. And you want a good thick covering of glue. Unfortunately, this one is just not wanting to come out anymore. Okay. Wherever you're going to put the beads, make sure you put down plenty of glue. fair warning, if you have carpet, these will go in the carpet. There's no getting them back. The vacuum cleaner's going to suck them up. If you have kitty cats, be careful to protect your bead soup tray because they jump up. They'll be everywhere. Pick this up and I'll show you that again. Okay. So that's what it's looking like right now. Okay. I am going to put this flower piece, it's a metal flower piece, I'm going to put it, I think, right in there. And I'm going to put some beads in around it. So I'm going to put it down just so you see. I'm just going to, again, put plenty of tacky glue on this thing in the middle. And then when I put my beads around it, I'll put some glue up on it. I want to let it sit just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to work on this, and I'll be back in a few minutes when I get the beads all on. So I'll show it to you before I go on to the next thing I'm going to do. Okay, so I finished this up. Let me kind of lift it up and show you. And now it has to dry before I can do anything else. I'm much happier with the cover. This is what the front cover looks like. So I'm just going to set it aside and go on with some other stuff while that gets dry. Tacky glue dries pretty fast, but before I put Mod Podge over the top of it, I want it to dry very well. So I'm not even sure that I'm going to do that later. I do have quite a bit of bead soup left over. I probably got a little over ambitious with it, which is not a problem because it can be used for other projects, just like I have an idea. Last time I had glued a lot of the pages, not glued, but Mod Podged a lot of the pages to some packaging, some quinoa that we eat, and I just glued a page or Mod Podged a page to the packaging and let it dry. And these are going to be my tags. And I've worked on some, so I have some idea of what I want to do. But I thought I might use some of the beads on some of these tags too. I won't use near as many, simply because if I do, then the taking them in and out of the book is probably going to be hard on them. So I just trimmed them all off like so. Okay, I took my corner rounder and I rounded the bottom corners. Now with the packaging on there, it's a little hard to do, but it worked okay. So, and I just rounded the bottom corners. And then I trimmed, well, let me do it the way I usually do it so you can see. I usually just take and cut at an angle, and then I take this piece and turn it over and put it over here. And that way both corners are the same. Like so. And then after I do one, I usually go back and just take, if they're all the same size or close to the same size, here, let me turn it over so you can see. See, I just go like this. And that way I can make my tags all the same size. And I need a hole punch. Put a hole punch in there. Now I did take these all to the sewing machine and I sewed around them. I just put one row of straight stitching around them. I left the tails on them. Then I'm going to decorate them. And I'll do these later. I have some fun music paper that I snitched out of a different music book. Okay, and I think we'll do a piece or so on each one of those. And I have some pictures I printed off the internet of some composers. So these are all dead guys, so. And that's the same guy. And I had to hunt up pictures of instruments. It was really funny. I couldn't find instrument pictures very well. I had a real hard time coming up with instruments. You'd have thought that there'd have been pictures of instruments everywhere. So, let's see here. I'll just set these aside. I think we'll work with these two right now. And as far as fussy cutting these out, I did not fussy cut real tight. I left the white around them. It just kind of helps them stand out against the page. I'm hoping that I can get this done in the next 2 days. It's just ridiculous it's taking so long. It's the middle of January already. So I got that one. Sorry about the dryer, guys. I just had to do some laundry and I wanted to get this done. So, that's a grumpy looking guy. Let's go back and look at our composers and see if we Let's come up with a couple more pictures is what I'm looking for. Those are way too dark. You know, I got a new printer and now everything prints very, very dark. I was really surprised how I have to print sort of on economy or something. I've got to figure out some settings so that I can get some lighter prints when I print things. I just wanted another element. Well, okay. Let's move these before I spill them. Okay. I just grabbed hold of the gluey side of this glue stick without thinking because I took the cap off already. I'm like, okay, real good. There was a bead on my glue book over here. Of course, I'm sure there's beads everywhere now. And I'm just gluing these down with glue stick. Of course, now my fingers are sticky too. My desk has gotten so messy. I thought I had it all cleaned up, and then it's like, yuck, what a mess. Okay. Okay. Now my idea for the beads, let me just set those over there. On these. was to just outline the composers. I got that real crooked right there. Oh well. This time, since they're small, I can put them in here, and it will make it a lot easier to not make a mess. Uh-oh, except I made a mess. Okay, see that's... So just to add another little different touch to this one with our beads. Like that. I'm just going to set them up here while I work on the other two. Okay. Now then I have this guy. Like that guy. Let's go for I had some pieces of lace that I want to use. Let's maybe cut this piece in half. This is just an old lace curtain that I've cut up. Like that piece, it's not flat is all. It's not a bad piece, it's just not flat. Okay, let's I knew I had some more music paper. Let's This book is really thick. It's very interesting paper. Okay, let's see here. I don't like that. I don't like it if it's just too big, so we're just going to cut it down. And I'll use it like that. Okay. And like so. Now we need some more instruments. What do we have? What do we have? Okay. We have another little violin. Now one thing that I noticed in the tags, there's not a lot of color, but this whole book has sort of a aged, weathered kind of color to it. So I decided I didn't want to try to add a bunch of color. It's a mixture of white and antique white papers. It's, you know, the papers are junk, but I then did the gesso over the top. So, and I've used the coffee dyed papers to make my little journaling tuck pages and things like that. So there wasn't a lot of bright colors in it, which is kind of odd for me, but that's just the way it is. Okay. Guess I better finish cutting it out. Okay. And how does it go? It goes like that. So. I think that. And that. These just stand out a little better when you ink them. I didn't ink all of them, but this last few I wanted to ink. I used some white ones. When I get this book all finished, I'm going to do a journal flip for you guys so that you can see everything. Okay, let's go down here. And on the other pieces where I used the lace, I had to use a liquid glue. I found that the pieces didn't want to stay in place if I didn't, so what I did was I used this aqua glue, which this one's almost empty. I'm going to have to get a new one. I always keep a backup of one of these because while I don't use it up fast, I don't like being out. So what I did was I put this down where I wanted it, like so. And then I picked it up where the lace was, and I put some right under it where the lace is. Okay. And then I did the lace in a couple of little spots. I didn't try to glue that down completely. And I just wanted to add some texture with that lace. Okay, but see here, the lace is underneath there, so I will, you would think the glue would go right through it, but it does not. Okay. Okay. I don't know why the glue doesn't go squishing right through the lace, but it just doesn't seem to. So every place there's lace, I had to lift this up and glue it down some more. And then this one, like so. Now I think for the fun of it, I'm going to put some beads around these two too. Come on now, glue down, stick, stick, stick. That was kind of fun, putting the beads around them. We'll see how it takes over the top of the lace. I'll do this one. I'll have a couple more cards to finish up, but I'm not going to make you guys watch all that. Not cards, but tags, because I have to sew around those ones I just cut. But I'm almost ready to put my signatures in. Yay! This is much easier. Next time I'll get a, next time I do something big, I'll get a cookie sheet out and set it on a cookie sheet when I go to put the beads on, because that would have been so much easier. Then they wouldn't have been all over. Best laid plans. We always think about the easy way after we've done it the hard way. Oh. So there are those two. Okay, so then these are dry enough. I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did with the rest. I have all kinds of fibers. And what I did was I chose a couple of different fibers. And now this one was kind of boring, so I added a little bit of this eyelash strip to it, just to give it some punch. And I just cut a piece, fold it in half. Come on, fold in half. And then I take the loop and stick it through here, through the hole in the top that I made. And then pull the tails up through that loop. Do both of these like this. And of course I had eyelash everywhere too because I've cut that yarn, but that's okay. Little fuzzies, few fuzzies is always good. Okay. This is actually coming along. Someday I might finish it. Alright, now I'm going to just set those aside because I don't want them in my pile. And I'm going to show you some of the ones I did before. And I might even bring you down just a little bit. Oh, give me just a second. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the ones I did before. Just to give you an idea. This is composers' names that I added to the tag. Oops, sorry. Now on these, I decided I wanted to add a little ticket, and then over here it's got definitions, music definitions that I took out of the book that says concert overture. This one says concert master, who is an assistant to the conductor, which I did not know. So these have little definitions on them. And these are some that I did with the two composers' pictures. And these have composers' names. This is a different music text that I used. And I'll show you these again when I do the flip. So let's see how our cover is doing and see if we can do our Mod Podge. I think we probably can. No, it's not dry. And I don't want to do the Mod Podge until it's completely dry. So, guys, I'll be back again when this is dry. See you in a bit. Hi, guys. I am really wanting to get this done. So, I have got the beads all on there using tacky glue. I did that last little bit ago, and this is finally dry. So I also put some beads around my tags, but I told you that I wanted to go over the top of it with Mod Podge. So I'm going to show you how I want to do that now, and then the last thing to do will be to sew the signatures in, which I'm really excited about. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my Mod Podge mixture that I use all the time. It's just a little bit of water, and I have now started using a little bit of standard Elmer's glue all in it, and that seems to make it less sticky when it dries. I've been very pleased with that, and all I am doing is putting a nice coat of Mod Podge on here. it will kind of dry into the beads, and it will make them a lot more durable, seeing as how they're on the cover of the book. And I just very carefully go along here. I'm going to do this to the tags as well. Now, some of these beads are still loose, and I'm okay if we lose a few. You kind of have to be when you do a project like that. I don't want to lose them all, though. Losing a few is one thing. The ones that aren't real secure in the first place. But between the tacky glue and the Mod Podge, we should be able to keep most of them on here. There's some water in my brush right now, which is making my Mod Podge a little thin. I dried it, but it's still just a touch thin. And I'm just trying to get it around the edges. And it's going to dry all nice and clear, so I'm not really worried if I get it on the cover. There's a loose bead right there. He may stay on there or he might not. I'm not worrying about him. And I know it looks like it's just gonna dry all thick and not sink down in, but it does. It kind of sinks in around the beads, and you won't really notice that you've got the Mod Podge on there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish all this and do the tags, and when it gets dry, I'll be back to oh dear, to sew in my signatures. Sorry. Be back in a little bit. Alright, so my cover got all the beads got dry, and now it is time to actually put this book together and finish it up. So, the first thing we need to do is I've got my everything in signatures, and I think I showed you, but I went ahead and put I added a sheet of wallpaper to the outside and to the inside to help with some of this fragile paper that needs to be protected a little bit. These are pretty thick signatures, and I have 3 of them. And it is definitely going to fill this book up. They're going to stick out on the side here and on the top a little bit, and I'm okay with that. But that does mean that I need to offset my center just a little bit so that they don't stick out on the bottom. There's about a ½ inch, I think, sticking out up here. So my center needs to be a ½ inch down on the inside of these signatures. So I'm going to mark everything, and then I have a brand new tool that I haven't used yet. I think I understand how it works, and I'm going to use it to punch my holes, partially because these are such big signatures, and it's going to take a bit to get in there. So and when I use a centering ruler when I'm doing something like this, and I have lots of these clips. like so. Now I probably will not, I'll probably mark and then just go back and clip everything, but one of the things I have learned is that if you want it to be right in the center, sometimes it's easier to hold it with my fingers than it is with clips. So I'm going to mark this, and by centering ruler I mean that this has a 0, and then it starts in the center with 0 and goes 1, 2, 3. This is the bottom, this is the top, and then that's something else you want to be sure of, that you get them in there right. And therefore I'm going to offset my center down a 1/2 inch. So if this is 4 1/2, 4 1/2 is there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to use this at 4 5/8 and 5 1/4. Is that about right? It's off just a little bit, but that's okay. I am going to mark it. I need something that's going to mark it. I'm going to mark it at 0. Two and 4. So you can see that I have marked it 5 places. I don't think a 3-hole pamphlet stitch is going to really hold it very well, and I need it to be pretty sturdy. So I'm going to just move this one aside and do the same thing to the next one. I love the crinkly sound that this all makes. However, it's a little hard. Sometimes they don't want to center up. There we go. Also, another thing about this is that all these papers are all different sizes. So it's going to be, it's not going to be an exact bind on things. So that's something to consider if that's going to bother you. Oh my. Now this one should come back up here a little bit. Apparently one of these is sticking to the other one. Okay. There we go. All right, something about this one is just not lining up right. So we're going to turn the pages and figure out what it is. This one is kind of off. Do not know why it's doing this, but it's not wanting. There we go. It just didn't want to sit into the crease. Something is funky with this particular one right here. It just may not have a good crease. I don't know. Well, okay. This is a junk journal, so there are oddities about the papers. All right, that's a lot better. Okay. Now these. Okay. Oh, that one doesn't want to write at all on there. Okay. I may have to refold those in that signature. Then we need to mark 3 rows of holes in this. And I am centering. I don't want it to stick out the bottom. Okay, we should be good. And I'm going to come in about 1/4 of an inch from this side. And I'm not going to be able to see that, so okay. And I'm going to turn around and do the same thing on the other side. About 1/4 of an inch in. Now there's about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch between these. So I'm just going to eyeball a dot right in between these every place. Okay. And I'm going to punch holes. I just don't make, this probably isn't the best and most exciting thing for you, but I'll tell you, this is a very nice tool. And we'll see how it sets eyelets. I cannot tell you how easy it was to punch through the spine of this book. That was very, very easy. Okay, now we have to punch down the center of our signatures. And I'm going to punch one and then sew one. So in other words, I'm only going to punch one at a time, guys. Is what I'm trying to say to you. Ooh, okay. In the center where all of the papers are the thickest, oops, I just slid that off of there. It was a little harder to punch. I am just going to, oh dear, don't. Okay, guys, I let it slide. I should have gone ahead and there we go. It's not lined up exactly. I don't like punching it with that. I will tell you that much. I don't like punching it with that. Okay, well. And I have some heavy wax linen that I'm going to use to put in there. And I want some extra tails to put some beads on. I've decided that having a needle on my thread might be helpful. This is just a tapestry needle. It just helps to make it line up better. And I'm just going to do an in and out. I think it's called a saddle stitch instead of a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. There's similar. I'm just having to make sure that all of the holes, all of the papers get threaded into the hole. Once we get a couple of the holes kind of started, it will, it should work without too much hassle. Okay. I'm sorry, there's no way to do this where you can really see it. There we go. And I'm just going in and out of the holes, guys. And right now, I'm not worrying about how tight it is or anything else. I'm just going in and out of the holes. The nice thing is once we get the first line of stitching in, we shouldn't have any trouble getting the second line in. Now we want to make sure that we have about the same amount of thread top and bottom. Okay, that's close enough. Make sure it's all nice and tight. Make sure it's tight on the outside. Okay. Now I like to come around the bottom of my book. It holds this little flippy edge in there. That's not necessarily how it's supposed to be done, but it's how I do it. Oops, that's not where I'm supposed to go back in. Now then, I normally go around up here, but I don't want to do that on this book due to the fact that these are taller. So what I need to do is pull this one out. Okay, and turn it over. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie this, but I'm going to tie it right here at this hole. Okay. And the nice thing about wax linen is that if you tie it nice and tight, it will stay there. But I'm going to put about 4 knots in it. And now we have one signature in our book. Yay! And you see how it's going to stick out on the sides. It's going to stick out on the top, but it's not going to stick out over here on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and put the other 2 signatures in, and I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I got the signatures all sewn in. I will tell you I didn't do myself any favor by making them kind of a fat signature. And now what I'm doing is these are the wax linen cords where I sewed the signatures in, and I'm just making dangles that hang from them. And I didn't want you to watch me struggle with 500 million little beads, so I just did a few of them before I got back on. These are size 6 and size 8 seed beads. I have some little copper beads. They're not the tiny ones I used in the front to decorate with, because those are too tiny to go on this particular, well, they would go on if I sat and made myself a little crazy over them, but would be very difficult to get those particulars. They're size 11s. That's a size 11 seed bead right there. So, you know, it's the difference of my sanity, and I wasn't going to fuss with them. So 6s and 8s, they go on this wax linen real well. Now this is 3 cord, no, this may be 4 or 5 cord wax linen. If you want to put wax size 10s on wax linen, you need 2 and maybe 3 cord. It depends on your seed beads. I use a lot of wax linen, excuse me, wax linen in my jewelry, but it's all smaller. And these are some square cube beads, and I just am using them for texture in the tassel kind of thing. And I have a large collection of beads, so I can always find beads to go on a tassel. I will tell you that if you're doing something like this, it doesn't matter, but if you're doing jewelry, Japanese seed beads are far superior to Czech seed beads because they are more consistent in size. The whole size is more consistent, lots of things like that. The Czech seed beads tend to be less consistent. The other thing is, don't cut your wax linen thread so small that you have to fight to get things on your to work with them. It's just not worth it. Having a little extra thread and getting rid of a little extra thread is not a big deal when you consider fighting and the time that it takes to try to work with something. Now, okay, let me push that back just a little bit so you can see. One of the things that I have learned, when you want to tie a knot and you want a knot in a specific place, something that you can do is take like a needle or a pin and put the pin, I hope you can see that. Let me bring you in just a little further. Okay, so then when I pull this, it's going to slide down the needle until it's right where I want it, instead of 5 miles away. So let me get you back out. Sorry for making you seasick. And I always put 2 knots in. But I do a lot of corded jewelry work, and I have done that for years. Used a pin to get my things in place. And see, that's going to make a nice chunky tassel right there on the back. And I usually work with a big one of these mats when I'm doing jewelry, and for some unknown reason I forgot it today, and so the beads were scooting all over, and I just didn't want to fight with them anymore. And I'm just randomly putting things on. It's and I always try to pour out less beads than I actually am going to want when I finish up, due to the fact that I hate trying to sort beads. I'd rather get out 2 or 3 more than to try to sort what I'm not going to use. Okay. We're almost done with this part. We're almost done with the book. Well, how about that? It's going to be just, I'm just going to use up what I've got out here, and we're going to call it good. That one, for some reason, it must have some kind of it had something in the center of it. It's a lined bead. It looks like it's copper lined, and it did not want to let my cord go through. Now these cords are not all the same length. I didn't want them to be all the same length. I wanted them just random. Okay. And so now we have our tassel on our book. I'm going to back you all the way out. Oops, wrong way. I decided that it needs a closure, and I had forgotten about having something to close the book with. So what I have decided to do is I'm going to use some of this. It's sort of it's a loopy yarn of some sort, but I'm going to use it as a tie. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch a hole with a larger hole with my crocodile, and I'm going to put cord front and back so that it can be tied. It's getting pretty full, and it's not got the tags and things in it. So I had thought about this one, but I think it's a little, I don't know, it's just a little red. I don't know, I still think I like that one better. We're going for this red one. It's really kind of rusty color. I'm back and forth about it. One nice thing about it is if I put this one on, I'm going to put this one on. If I change my mind, I can always change it. But what I need to do first is I need to measure the center and find the center. I'm going to turn this way. Okay. 4 3/4. Okay. And I don't want it right on the edge because it's going to be a hole, so... Oh, good. Not going to mark on there. And of course I have to find the same hole on the back. And now I'm going to switch my crocodile to the 1/4 inch hole, or 3 something. It's 3/16 I think is what it is, but it's a bigger hole. And I'm going to put it in here. Oh dear. Okay, there we go. There's an issue with some of the beads that are on here. Oh, I'm going to have to stand up. Okay. Now that just amazes me. That's just a perfect hole. I'm just totally amazed that that thing will punch holes in something so thick. Okay. If I had thought about this, it would have been easier to put the holes in before I put the signatures in. But I didn't think about it, so they're going in now. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay. That is a nice thick thing that it punched out of there, because that's the cover of that book is pretty thick, and plus we've added stuff to it. So now we need plenty to tie, but we don't want it so long that it's going to be obnoxious. We're going to lose some when we pull it through the hole. So let's see, that's about, give me just 1 second and I'll figure it out. 16 and 16 is 32. It's about 32 inches of yarn. And I'm just shoving the folded spot through the hole. Okay, come on now. Get through there then nicely. Part of it pulled through and part of it didn't. This is not a solid yarn, so. Okay, and then once I put the folded part through the hole, I'm taking the loop and I'm putting the ends through the loop so that it pulls into like that. And then I'm going to take this end and tie it in a knot, because I have 2 pieces and I don't want it to unravel. So it looks like that. Okay, now then I'm going to do the same thing with another piece for the back. I'm going to flip it over. Just need something to make it go through that hole. If I had a little tiny crochet hook handy, that's what I would use. So. Okay. And that's finishing up our book. I'm just going to tie it. And that's our finished book. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to finish up this video. I'll get it edited, and then what I'm going to do is put all my tags in it, because I have all these lovely tags that need to go in its spots, and I'll put the tags in and do a flip. So I'll be back, you know, probably tomorrow with a flip. So thank you. Bye-bye. Oh wait, we have to have a quote from our 1001 Ways to Creativity. The most creative people you are likely to meet are children. If you want to know the essence of creativity, then just observe them playing. That is the state that adults need to somehow find again. Oh, that is a very good one. Have a great afternoon, guys. Go make some art. Have fun. Bye-bye.